Hello and welcome to this Goldfish in Pastel Pencil tutorial, starting with the eye as always, going straight in with the black and then going around with the ivory and the burnt ochre. Same colours as the polychromos, which is fantastic. The burnt sienna and then just going around with the dark sepia around the edge just to make sure that there's some definition. Mapping out now with the terracotta colour, which is a really beautiful bright orange. And then using a combination of the dark chrome yellow, the cadmium orange, just to map in all of the areas that have that light colour, using the yellows just to get a base layer down, and then we can slowly start to blend away the graininess using the oranges and a little bit of the lighter colours. This is a cold grey, using that on the fins as well just to make sure there's a little bit of definition, and then using the darker cold grey into the bottom section to map in where the darker parts are of the fish. There are quite a few details on this drawing, so at the moment just getting those base layers down, using a combination of the Venetian and the Indian red, and then we're blending out with the lighter yellow colours, getting a little bit of white in the top for the highlight. The great thing about pastel pencils is that you can put light over dark, which you can't do with the normal polychromos, blending away any harsh edges with the lighter colours, so the yellows, and then adding definition with the browns. We've got some reds, and I'm starting to map in some texture now on the main part of the body, defining the gills, and then using the earth green yellowish, which is a fantastic colour, really natural, and also gives that lovely shine. We've got a little bit of a shine off the water, the blue, so that's where the green comes in. It really does add a lot of definition. Putting some definition into the fins now, using the browns and then blending away with the mid-tones, the oranges and the reds. You can see that it does go a little bit grainy, a little bit chalky to begin with, so using those lighter colours to blend away, and you get a lovely smooth finish. Just defining where the edge is with the blue, and then just starting to build up through the darker mid-tones into the detail in the face, defining the eye with the black and the dark sepia around the outside. And you can see that really makes it pop when you add a little bit of white or cold grey just to highlight where those lightest parts are. Little bit of grey on the underbelly and adding a little bit of detail with the darker greys, adding some white, so defining the edge of the top of the goldfish against the blue, and adding those light yellows, ivories and creams into the face, and then blending away with the oranges and the light yellow glaze, which is a really great pencil for getting the blending in, adding some detail around the face, and then we're going to be darkening up certain areas around the belly, lightening up into the highlights and adding that earth green yellowish to really get a lot of different colours going on into here. In the underbelly there's a lot of shimmer, there's a lot of texture, a lot of details, so adding those in, making sure that the under fin has a little bit of shadow in, it's as dark as it needs to be, and then just working around the detail, darkening up certain edges to make the fins that are forward stand out, making sure those shadows are in the right place. A little bit sketchy at the moment, so we will need to blend, getting the fins in the right place, using a cold grey and a white, just shaping those against the blue, and then making sure they are the correct width and size. Really does stand out against the blue, these light pencils, either the white or the cold grey, and then we can add a little bit of shimmer to the top. Blending again with the oranges, making sure we've got a lovely smooth transition between the colours, and then we can go in a little bit darker with the reds, Venetian red, the brown as well, adding the definition to the fins. And then we can blend away with the lighter colours, adding a little bit of blue to make it look like these fins are translucent against the blue water. Really does work well just to use lighter colours and then a little bit of the background colour coming through, making sure the fin is not too uniform. There are little longer parts which makes it look a little bit more realistic, and there are some gaps in it too, adding some more detail to the face and darkening up the underside to make sure that that is in shadow and we create form that way, adding the detail to the midsection and adding a little bit of a highlight and blending with the lighter colours towards the tail and the tail fin, darkening up where needs to be darkened, going a little bit darker in some places, adding that definition to the tail fins now, a little bit of orange, white, and again that blue to blend it in with the background. Same with that bigger tail fin as well. You can see it really does work when you blend with the lighter colours. It all smooths out really, really nicely with the pastel. So you do need to add quite a few layers just to get a smoother look. It looks quite grainy and quite gritty when you first put it down, but don't worry, it does blend away quite nicely when you start to add all of the layers. Going in with the oranges as well, the dark chrome yellow, cadmium orange, and then just adding a little bit more highlight to the top of the fin, and then blending with the yellow, adding the detail with the darker colours, and then blending between the dark section and the light, adding a little bit of that green as well. You can see that's a really nice transitional colour. Making sure you're going as dark as you need to go, adding a little bit of fin or scale detail at the bottom, and then doing the same at the top with the darky oranges against that yellow. Very, very subtle, but it does add that texture, and I think it's quite important to put that in. Making sure we're defining the fins at the top, adding a little bit of green just to blend it into the background to make it look like it does have that see-through transparent texture, which is important. We don't want it to look too block. Just defining the face a little bit. We're going into the final details now, making sure that the eye pops out and it's not been lost and blended away. Same with the detail in the body, going in with the browns and the darker greys, adding the detail into the fin, just mapping out the final details around the underbelly and the fin. Darkening up the shadows, making sure they are balanced as always. The values are so important, making sure the highlights are as light as they need to be and the darkest parts as dark as they need to be to create form and to make your drawing pop out a little bit. Darkening up certain areas with the Venetian red, and we can add those white details in with the white pencil to really show those highlights, the sparkly shimmery scales of the fish, and doing those backward C's with the burnt umber just to define the scale texture a little bit more. Those final details going in now, making sure everything's blended nicely, and the fish is complete. I hope you enjoyed this tip video, and I look forward to seeing you next time.